Confidence and consistency, whatever that looks like. Sometimes I'm going into a listing appointment and I sit in the car and I have a little pep talk with myself before I go in. If you're going to sell yourself, if you're going to sell something else, you have to be confident.
Welcome back to the Agents Who Crush It in Real Estate podcast. I'm your host, Lindsay Favaza. And before I tell you about our guest today, I want to ask for a favor. If you love our show, and it brings you insights and value week after week, please leave us a review, leave a comment, share the podcast. And FYI, if you listen on Spotify, you can now also watch at the same time. We have the video interview embedded right there in the podcast. So give it some love so we can share the stories of these amazing realtors that we bring you week after week with more amazing real estate professionals in the future. Thank you very much. Okay, today, I have an absolute powerhouse joining me from Lamaki Realty's Berkshires office. She's an absolute force in the industry, a top producer who closed over 50 homes in 2024 alone, earning her spot in Lamaki Realty's President's Club Elite. Not only that, but she was also voted Best Realtor in the Berkshires in 2024, and I believe it's not the first time she's gotten that award. Jessica Rizzo has been making waves in real estate since 2014. She's built her success on deep community connections, a background in exceptional customer service, and a genuine passion for helping buyers and sellers navigate their journey. She especially loves working with first-time home buyers, finding joy in their excitement as they achieve the dream of homeownership. Beyond real estate, Jessica is deeply involved in her community. She serves on the Berkshire County Community Service Board and volunteers annually with Habitat for Humanity, proving that her commitment to helping people extends well beyond the closing table. In this episode, we're diving into how Jessica has built her thriving business and the lessons she's learned along the way. So, without further ado, welcome to the podcast today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you. We've known each other now for, 6 months or so. Mm-hmm. And you always have this most amazing smile on your face. You're always so happy and so you're a ray of sunshine in the room every single time I see you. So
thank you.
I'm so excited because not only are you a ray of sunshine, but you're also a badass. So you make it happen, girls. So I want to hear the entire thing and I want our audience to hear from you as well. So I'm super excited to have you here today. So take us back, 2014. What were you doing at the time and what got you into the business?
So I was at at home with my youngest and just waitressing and bartending part-time and being a stay-at-home mom. And real estate was something I always had interest in. And I had the time in my life to, follow that dream and go ahead and take the course and take the test and, give it a shot.
The rest is history. Mm-hmm. So had you at that point already bought a house on your own, or is that something you did later? Or
I did. So I bought my first house. I was a single mom with 2 kids working 2 jobs to achieve that dream. So I knew I didn't want to raise my children in an apartment and I wanted to give them a home. And so I made it happen. It wasn't easy or challenging. But I achieved that dream. And so I had went through that process once, prior to getting into real estate. And that also just made me, realize like, wow, this is something I could see myself doing.
And I can see now why being a first-time home buyer is probably near and dear to your heart, because you probably remember how you felt about that.
Definitely. Yes.
So take us back to, your first days in real estate. So you get your license. Now what?
Yes. So, when I took the course, when I was finishing up, I was chatting with another girl in my class and who are you going to go talk to? And so we're, chatting. And so we kind of had a list. And so I started with that list and making some phone calls and sat with a few people. At the time, Berkshire Dream Home, where I started, wasn't even established fully, and it was just getting started. And I called another agent, and he said, I'm not set up. I don't have a training program. I'm not ready. But why don't you call Andy Pernick? And I said, okay. So I called Andy Perenick, and he kind of gave me the same spiel, but said, I'm not quite ready and set up because I'm just opening my company, but let's have coffee.
Yeah.
And the rest was history.
I mean, you can't not fall in love with Andy. I mean, he's just the best, and want to join him. So that was awesome. So you did that 2014 or soon after that, after you got your license?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right after I got my license.
So you're bartender, waitress, doing that whole thing, which I feel like I've talked to so many people on these episodes that are absolutely crushing it in real estate, but have that background. So do you think that that helped you a little bit to be like so good with working with people and to like knowing so many people? Do you think that that had anything to do in those first days and years of you getting off the ground?
For sure. I think my background with that career and my previous career as a dental assistant and, office manager, the customer service, always dealing with people in front of you on the phone. And that definitely helped, just because it's the same, scenario. You're dealing with people who, sometimes it's super happy, sometimes it's stressful, sometimes people, aren't the kindest and how you react. So just having that customer service background has definitely helped.
So how long after getting your license were you able to kind of break away from doing the other job? Because I know there's a lot of people who are probably listening right now that maybe they're not, bartending, but they've got some other job and they really want to make, real estate their full-time gig. But like, what was the time like for you there? Like, what was the time frame and how did that decision go for you?
So it was scary, but I had gradually cut back. So I was just doing 3 nights a week, and then I went down to 2, and then I went down to 1, and I knew it had to happen, and I knew I had to let it go, but it was just a matter of when. And, when I'm like, one time I'm like, sorry, I can't write this offer right now because I have to go waitress. And that was kind of like the last straw. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So I had done both for probably about 5 to 6 years, doing both, but cutting back over the time, so I wasn't there a lot. But it definitely was scary. But now that I look back, I'm glad I made that decision I did, to just let it go and just focus on this as a full-time job, because it's a lot of times people, when they start, they need to have another income source. And so, stick with it. And over time, you can, hopefully build it up to kind of let that other job go and just, focus mainly on real estate.
It sounds like you had that moment. And I think that that's a good message for people. It's like, if you don't think you're ready, then maybe you're not, and keep trying to kind of bridge the gap until you know that moment's going to come where you're like, okay, it's time to jump.
It's time. That was like the last straw.
Yeah. You're like, I can't do this anymore. So you're a single mom. It's hard.
I was at the time when I bought my first house. I was a single mom.
So when you got into real estate still?
No.
You were
I'm married now with 3 children, and when I got into real estate, which also helped when you have another income.
I was going to say, like, that must have been even more challenging, but now knowing this, like, that definitely helps. But at the same time, there's plenty of people who have done it that didn't have that too, because they made that transition work between the gaps. So that makes a lot of sense. Yes. So now you're getting in, you've got Andy, he's kind of helping you out and giving you like the lay of the land, and definitely very mindful of training, which I think is super important. So tell me how those early years were for you in the career. Were you like totally freaked out? Were you excited? Like, what was the trajectory for you?
I was always excited and eager to learn and eager to do it the right way. So, if you, talk to Andy in my earlier years, he'd be like, there's no one that asks more questions than you, Jessica, because I always wanted to do it the right way. And I'm always like to be 5 steps ahead. So if there was a scenario or something that would be coming up, I would like to go over that with him. So when I was actually in the moment, if it was something I knew I could kind of pre-plan for, just having that discussion, with him of, okay, so what should I do and how should I do it? And, starting with him being the mentor that he is, it definitely shaped my success for sure.
I love that. So, all right, tell us what you would say to Jessica Rizzo then that you could now. What would you say to her? Because obviously she was still excited. She was still green. She was still all of these things. But now that you've had such an amazing career over the last 11 years, what would you tell that version of yourself now, if you could?
So this is, kind of an easy one because I have a good friend of mine who just got into real estate. She just got her license in New York. And so she came over for lunch last week and she's like, okay, so, what should I know? What should I do? And so,
she's asking you questions. The questioner has now become the asked.
Yes. So, I said, first of all, number one is to have a database, have a CRM. I've always had one, but did not utilize it to its full, extent in the beginning of my career. Now I'm religious with it. And it's kind of, like my Bible, like, everything has to be in there. Yep. So, starting from the beginning of your career and just, to have that, database is definitely, it's gold. That's your business.
Yep. So, when you finally started to kind of keep track of those things and have that CRM, what kind of things would you keep track of? Was it only, based around deals? Was it, that you would keep track of things on the leads, like as far as like conversations go? Like, how do you use your CRM to the fullest advantage?
Yeah. So in the beginning, I was using it as basically a people, like a placeholder for my people. Then I started diving into it more, just making sure you have all of their contact info in there. And if there's anything to highlight about them, birth dates, if they have pets or anything, because you can only remember so much. And then, of course, diving into the whole number aspect of it, because in the beginning I did not, it was just putting my people in there and I was putting no numbers. And then as you grow your business and, it's fun to watch it though throughout the year when you're using it to its full capacity.
Yeah. When you have 50 homes that you close in a year, you better be keeping notes on people because I don't care how much of a memory you have. That's still going to be very, very difficult. So, all right. So now we're present day. Now we've made it through the timeline, right? So, 50 homes is incredibly impressive. So how do you balance that? Because that also is a lot of time. There's people who are listening right now that close 20 homes and they're like, how the heck does she close 31? It's like, that's like daunting to some people. So what advice would you give to them about that?
So having systems in place is huge. Sometimes when I'm, on an appointment, I'll say to, sellers, sometimes there's an agent out there, they're doing it all on their own. They're meeting with you, they're doing their own photos, their own floor plans. They do not have an assistant. And so having the systems in place and, there's things that I'm great at. I'm not great at taking photos of homes. So just to have the systems in place and to have a person and, having an assistant is huge to help with, the day-to-day, things that need to get done. So I can focus my time on meeting with buyers and sellers and following up on lead generation and know that I have someone, a team member that is, helping me with all of those things on a day-to-day basis.
It's always that we always talk about the doctor-patient relationship, so it's like, you're the doctor, you're not necessarily the one that has to take their height and weight. Like they have a nurse for that. Right. So it's like, that's the same when it comes to real estate. Like people taking the pictures don't have to be the one that's doing the negotiation. And in reality, if you want to kind of scale your business, you have to think about, those time management type of things that, do you need to be doing this task or is there someone else that can, number one, do it better and do it faster than you, So I think that's awesome.
For sure.
I mean, what is something though that maybe you've held on to because you're like, I'm actually really good at this. Like, is there anything that you're like, I'm not giving this one up?
As far as I know kind of just like the whole input data, with the systems that Makia has, they're like, okay, well, we'll do it for you. And I'm like, okay, well, I like to log it on a piece of paper, and then I like to input it. So I like to input my own data. And on the other hand, one thing I recently let go that I do not like doing, and I did not like doing it for years, and now I have someone doing it for me, and I'm like, I can never go back, is signs.
Yeah, putting signs on the ground, especially this time of year, not fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't miss it one bit.
No. So that's amazing. So tell me how you market yourself. Let's get into that because, closing 50 homes, you have to be doing some kind of marketing, not just for your listings, but also for you and your business. So give us a little bit of an idea of kind of what your marketing plan is year by year.
So I have a good referral-based business. So, I have big supporters out there who, are always sharing the word. And that is, ultimately that's, in my opinion, the best business is referral-based business. So that is, number one. And then I also do have, a good online presence with a lot of reviews. And that has helped me tremendously with, just people who are looking for an agent. It has helped me with other agents looking for an agent to service, their client in, my area. So that, definitely has helped a lot.
A lot of agents don't think about that, or they just, they get through the sale and that's the end of that. They kind of are like done. Right. Yeah, those referrals and those reviews are so important to impact more referrals. It gives people a chance too, to like write down what they loved about you. And just like you said, you hold on to this task of writing things down because it helps you, right? It's like if they write it down and say how awesome you are, it just makes it embedded that much more in them and they'll want to refer you. And it's awesome. So that's amazing. And as far as like them referring you though, obviously you're doing a great job for them and that's part of it. But what else do you do for your clients like throughout the year? How are you keeping in contact with them? Because even though you've done an amazing job, it could be 6 or 7 years till they need you again. So how do you stay top of mind with those people?
So I make sure to stay in contact with my database throughout the year. Never, finish up a transaction and that's it. And, we're never going to talk again. So, monthly email blasts, calls, and then client appreciation parties. So I'm geared up to do probably at least 4 this year. And so, doing that and, people they love it. They enjoy it. They're like, wow, this is awesome that you stay in contact so much after the closing. And it's just a good time for you to be able to, catch up. And so just constantly staying in communication with them throughout the year.
I mean, yeah, they're loving you, obviously, because they gave you also the best realtor of the Berkshires. So this was not your first time getting this award this past year, was it?
No. So I got that award the previous year as well.
I know it's a little awkward.
23 and 24.
I'm sure it's a little awkward for you to talk about because you're very modest, but tell us about this award. Tell us what it means to you as well to win that 2 years in a row. Like it must make you feel really good.
Yes. Yeah. Awesome. It does. I'm sometimes like a kind of a go with the flow type of person. And so even like, I get to the end of the year and I'm like, oh, okay. I'm at the top. I sold 50, but on a day-to-day basis, that's not really what I'm focused on. So sometimes I get surprised by that myself because I do my job and I focus on that. And, sometimes I don't realize it when I'm in it until after, but getting that award, it is from the local newspaper. They host this every year for all local businesses and have the local community vote on the best of, whatever category. And so, I have a great following and I put a good effort into, getting people to vote for me to get to that. So I was, awesome to get it 2 years in a row. I got it the first year and I'm like, I don't know if I can do this again, but I'm sure I'm going to give it my all. And, I ended up getting it 2 years in a row. So
it's not enough to just be like nominated. I mean, you got to push for these things once you're nominated for it. So I think that's amazing. And obviously they're not going to vote for you unless they actually feel like you are the best. So they went out of their way and they came through for you. So that's awesome. Congratulations again on that. That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
So listings.
Mhm.
It's been, kind of a crazy couple of years, right?
Mhm.
But I think we're going to get more and more into a more balanced market here in the coming years.
Yeah.
So what are some of your, tactics, things that you do to make sure that you get your listing sold? Like, is there anything that you can kind of like, this is something that I always do, or like some pinpoint something that is your key to success?
So, just staying in constant communication, one, with your clients. So you kind of, control the narrative. So if you're constantly always checking in and telling them, I'm huge about getting back to them with feedback. And, if I'm selling your home, you've got to know what other people are saying. And so just staying in, contact with them. And then, great photography is huge.
Yep.
And, great marketing. And then just, monitoring the listing as close as possible. So if we need to make some, adjustments, making those adjustments. And it helps when you're in constant communication with them when you get to that point. If you need to make, some price adjustments, and you've been in constant communication, it makes that conversation a little easier.
For sure. Plus you've set it up ahead of time, so they know what to expect if that conversation does happen. If it has to happen, then at least they're all prepped for it at that point. And they trust you because they know that you're going to do everything to get it sold and is the most money that you possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the most rewarding part for you now being a realtor? What is it that drives you every day? Obviously, you don't have any plans of going back to any of your previous careers. This is it for you. So what is it that, really drives you to move forward in this business?
So one thing that just makes it easy is I love my job. I love what I do. And that just makes it easy.
Yeah.
I had a client who recently just said to me, this was like 3 weeks ago, and I'm, dealing with her. She's like, I can tell you obviously love what you do. And I'm like, yes, I do. And it's nice for someone on the other side to be recognizing that as well. And the reasons why they're recognizing that is obviously because of, how you act, the communication. And I love what I love what I do. It's just, it's my drive. It's my passion. And yes, I could never go back to one of my previous careers.
Yeah. So, although I would want you to make a drink for me because I bet you're really good at that. So tell me about the community involvement, because I know that, your passion for your career has also transitioned into helping the community and being very active in the community. So how do you choose what to be active in? What drives you to do and choose certain things? And how has that helped you to deepen the relationships within the community as well?
So obviously, being a part of your community, smaller, especially when you're in a smaller community like we are here, it just feels, like it's just a deeper connection, I would say. And so I'm part of the community service board, which we do different things throughout the year, different fundraisers, to raise money for different, things. We try to keep it some housing based, but sometimes we'll branch off a little bit. And then my work with the Habitat for Humanity, that's fun. I started doing that years ago, and I'm like, who wouldn't want to go build a house for the day?
So fun. So fun.
Yeah. And, so, working with them is great. I recently, just started, considering getting involved in some other things as well, just, to try different things. So looking into, I went to my first Rotary meeting, last week. Yeah. And going back again this week. So, just learning a little bit more about that and getting exposed to that. And then, we've done different things with the food pantries, Thanksgiving angels, and stuff like that. So, it's nice to make other connections and just be out there in the community and just, helping and giving back. It definitely, it's a great feeling at the end of the day, and you make, connections and.
Yep. It just deepens the connections that you all have and that they have to you as well. So amazing. All right. I love to ask this question because it always brings up some fun stuff. So if you need a minute to think about it, feel free.
Okay.
I want to know the craziest story you've had in real estate in your career so far. No names. We'll protect the innocent, but what's like the craziest story that's happened to you?
Oh gosh, there's many.
I think it's more of like, which one do you pick?
Yeah. I mean, one time I picked up my real estate sign with bullet holes in it. That was, yeah.
Was this a competitor or?
I don't think so. I think it was in a rough area.
Oh my. Yeah, maybe you send someone else to pick that up. Someone that's packing next time.
Yes.
Yikes.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what else. Oh gosh.
Craziness ensues every day. It's hard to pick one.
Yes.
That's so funny. Well, like you said, if you think of one, you let me know. All right. So if you weren't in real estate, if you hadn't gone into this field, what do you think you would be doing right now?
So my guess is I probably would be still working in the dental industry. I had left work, I had worked in the dental industry for over 10 years and left to stay home with my youngest. Yep. So, I was going to stay home with her, and that's why I was waitressing, just to, have a little something to do and bring in a little income. So I guess probably I would have stayed home with her for that duration and then went back to that.
Yeah. I think you would have done something else entrepreneurial because you have just been always so driven. Do you know what I mean? Like if it hadn't been real estate, it would have been something else. I personally, what do I know? But I think you would have found something to drive you because you are just like, you're a workhorse. Like that's just the way you are, and I love it. So, all right. Parting words for our audience, because we're already at the end. I told you this was going to be short and sweet. What would be your biggest piece of advice? I know you already gave some advice to younger you and to your friend that's in New York. But what advice would you give to realtors? Maybe they're right around that 20 to 30 mark of sales and they really want to get to that next level that you're at. What would be some advice to help them kind of like leapfrog their business?
So I would just say, confidence and consistency. You have to be confident in yourself. If you're going to sell yourself, if you're going to sell something else, you have to be confident. And so, whatever that looks like, sometimes I'm going into a listing appointment and I sit in the car and I have a little pep talk with myself before I go in. So, just to be confident and then consistent. This business requires a lot of consistency and you have to follow through and just be consistent about, whatever it is that you're working on, lead generation, your calls, logging everything into your database and just be consistent.
I love it. I love the confidence and I love that you give yourself a little pep talk when you go in because it all becomes mindset. And I love that you said that because it really is so important. I know I just listened or watched something the other day where someone was saying that you should give yourself a high five in the mirror every morning. And it just kind of sets your day off of like, go get them, So that just reminded me of, and I think that that's so powerful. So I love it. Jessica, thank you so much. You're an absolute joy. You're absolutely crushing it, as our title of our podcast says. So just keep doing what you're doing, girl. And I can't wait to see what this year brings you.
Thank you very much for having me.
I'm so excited to have had you. So thank you so much, everybody, for listening, for watching, especially if you're on Spotify. Don't forget, we also have Jessica's links right here. So if you want to go and check her out, give her a like, give her a follow, send her a message. She's an open book and she would love to meet any of you guys. So thank you all so much for coming and being on the episode today, and get ready for the next episode of The Agents Who Crush It in Real Estate. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in to the Agents Who Crush It in Real Estate podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, share it with your friends and colleagues, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. If you're interested in being a guest, email us at info@crushitnre.com. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to crush it in real estate.